Hello there, and a very warm welcome. Thank you so much for having us and also joining us for this very interesting and captivating discussion that we want to have on your favorite show, the Leadership Wednesday. And we're also trusting that you're having a very wonderful day. Karibu sana. You're watching MBCI TV. Of course, you know, when it is on Wednesday, it's all about matters leadership. As we always say, it all rises and falls on leadership. And you and I have a responsibility, we have an obligation to ensure that we better our leadership. The more we make our leadership better, the more we are going to have a great society, we're going to have a great country, and even our 47 counties are also going to do great. And so today, definitely you can also look forward for yet another very interesting discussion. Now, today, I know this is an area that maybe most of you have not interacted with so much, but it's a very important subject. It's a very important area, and that is the state of refugees. The state of refugees. Maybe it is even your first time you're hearing the word refugee, or maybe you've interacted with the word or the term, but you've never known what it means. So very soon we'll be celebrating and marking the World Refugee Day, the World Refugee Day. And therefore today you're going to be enlightened on what do we mean when we talk about the World Refugee Day? How did it come about? What is the background of the World Refugee Day? When you're talking about refugees, who are they? What are they supposed to, or what are you supposed to know in regards to refugees? And what role do you have as a Kenyan? What role do you have as Mwananchi in as far as the state of refugees is concerned? That is going to be our topic for today. And shortly we'll be having a guest, and that is Stacy Mutiso, who is an officer in charge of Nakuru Office, Department of Refugee Services. She will be here to tell us more about the World Refugee Day. We'll even be able to have information about refugees in the county of Nakuru and what we need to do in as far as refugees are concerned. So that is going to be our main area of discussion, and we are really inviting you to also come and also give us company and make us company even as we continue with this particular discussion. Of course, we also have your other segments that we've also prepared for you. Prominent faces, we have Know Your Constituency, and you also have the Leadership Court, so you can look forward for that. But of course, in the show, I'm also having my colleague, Bwana Paul Kagi. It's good to see you this morning.
Right, and good morning, dear viewer, and welcome to our program this morning as we are here to look at the leadership matters, and we have very much and many for you today. Welcome once again.
Thank you. And of course, in a short while, Kagi will be getting into the general analysis of some of the events that have been shaping this week. And of course, with a flurry of activities taking place yesterday in regards to the Finance Bill 2024, there is a lot, I know, to talk about that. That one we're going to come to it in a short while. So we are asking you today, what do you think needs to be done to improve the state and the livelihoods of refugees? What do you think needs to be done to improve the state and the livelihoods of refugees? Maybe even some of you watching, you have refugees within your neighborhood, within your locality. What are some of the measures that you need, that you think need to be taken into consideration for us to improve their state or their livelihoods? You can begin to share with us your comments, your opinions, your views on the same 23814 for Shortcut platform. You can also catch us live on our Facebook page, MBCI TV. We are live in YouTube, that is MBCI TV official. As we continue the conversation, we'll be glad to also see how you respond to this particular subject. But just as I had said earlier, Kagi, quite a number of other issues very pertinent are shaping this week.
All right, and Mangicho, thank you so much. And of course, today, what is making most of the headlines, the whole of this week, is the issue of the Finance Bill 2024, whereby the government has been making various proposals to be able to increase its finance base through the increase of taxes on various commodities and services in the country, which has really made the public to declare its position on the hiking of the taxes And yesterday was the climax of what has been happening behind the scene. There has been push and pull between the politicians from both divide, that is from the government side and opposition, and the public and even private sector. Even before yesterday's situation whereby the public went in the streets to push the government to withdraw the Finance Bill 2024, last week and this week there has been a lot of work which was being done by many quarters trying to maybe express themselves on their position on the Finance Bill 2024. One side of the Kenya Kwanza was saying the Finance Bill 2024 is okay because it is going to give government an opportunity to be able to collect enough fund for the services. I was listening to the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, and was saying, even though yesterday the government withdrew some around 8 or 10 clauses of the finance bill that was supposed to be increased, it means that choices have consequences. And he told Kenyans categorically that if you have decided to withdraw these taxes, then you must contend with the situations like we are going to miss some roads, some maintenances, employments of teachers, and many other things. And he insisted that, yes, we're feeling the heat of the taxes, but on the other side, we should not complain of underdevelopment. Somebody Mwangicho was talking today, I was listening to someone this morning, and he was saying that something interesting is, you know, whatever is in Finance Bill 2024 is what we expect to finance these taxes or the budget 2024-2025. You know, the budget was read, was it last week? And the government budget is at 3.9 trillion shillings, close to 4 trillion shillings. Nothing has changed. So if nothing has changed, whatever has been budgeted for by the government must remain. Even though these taxes has been removed, then we are going to look for alternatives on how we are going to get more money to fund the budget 2024-2025. And one thing that was mentioned was then young people who were on the street yesterday, because if you could look at the pictures and the videos which are on the street yesterday, it could clearly show that the young people dominated the street for maybe what we call the dissatisfaction from the government side and the expectations regarding the bill. And some of them were saying, no, we are not very certain that even though the government withdrew some of the clauses in the Finance Bill 2024, we still feel there is something which is hidden within this bill, and they are pushing that it should be rejected in totality. Today they will be debating on the bill, and tomorrow we expect them to vote for the bill Finance 2024.
Yes, Kagi. Yeah, that was a remarkable day, and of course, yeah, just as you've said, we've had quite a number of analysts looking at this particular subject, and even we have quite a number of them actually heaping blame on the president's advices, because whatever happened yesterday, especially in the city, was quite unfortunate. Coming also maybe in the wake of some of the complaints that of course we had witnessed, and so people were wondering, or most people were actually wondering, why did it have to come to that? Of course the government knew that already Kenyans had expressed their displeasure. They had actually expressed their dissatisfaction with the Finance Bill 2024. And of course we know that there is even they call themselves around the panel of economists, or that team, and people are really questioning how is it that maybe they did not see this one coming. Of course the government went to do away with some of those very, very contentious clauses, Kagi. I think the one to do with the 16% VAT on bread, which they removed, that was really going to be a major issue.
Yeah.
We also have the one on motor vehicle circulation. I think we also have another one to do with the environment, and also the one also on the use of mobile phones. And these are areas, and I think just as you've said, one of the reasons why we saw a lot of Kenyans, and especially the young people, just like you said, it's something that has been captured in the paper. They call them the Gen Z. They are the ones that came out very strongly yesterday to protest and also to demonstrate over this finance bill. It's because I think majority or most of those issues were actually going to affect them. But as you've seen, the reason why we're saying it is too little too late, it's like even Kenyans are not even appreciating that the government has actually gone ahead and removed those clauses. So what they want is for the total dismissal of that particular bill in its totality, the Finance Bill 2024, which basically means that even if Parliament, or even if the members of Parliament come and try to tell Kenyans, try to persuade Kenyans that we've done justice, and some of them have actually said that now Kenyans, you don't have to worry, we've dealt with those contentious issues. But one thing is that Kenyans, and a sizable number of Kenyans, want the bill to be dismissed in its totality. So I think all eyes will be on Parliament. Of course, just as you've said, they're discussing it today in the morning and then in the afternoon, and I had the Speaker of the National Assembly putting it very clearly that they'll sit up to late in the evening around 9:30. So it basically means that it is going to be very, very rigorous exercise happening in Parliament. But at the end of the day, Kenyans will be watching which MPs will be voting yes for that bill and which ones are actually going to be voting no.
Yes, and one thing that I could note regarding to what was happening yesterday is that it is not the first time the public is expressing its own views on the Finance Bill 2024. There was public participation, and there was a lot of work that was done by the Parliamentary Committee on Budget, and the committee really received a lot of recommendations from the public, from politicians, from religious leaders, and from the civil society, and also from the business community. And if you could follow it up, Mangicho, from the word go, you could see that all these groups had some queries on the bill. I don't think the government would have waited until this last minute when the pressure was too much on the ground from the public through protests and through social media, and then withdraw the several clauses. They would have listened to what the recommendations made by the public and all those groups, that they feel this bill is not healthy for anybody. Right? I could remember some big corporates like Coca-Cola were there, Safaricom were there, which are big corporates in our country, and they expressed their reservations on this bill. And therefore, there was no need of waiting to this very last minute and to embarrass the government in public gallery. So it is a wake-up call to our Parliament that they should make recommendations the way they are.
Absolutely.
We have not come to the end of maybe public participations. There are going to be very many. And the thing is, there's need for them to respect and also to say things the way they are. They could have advised the president at the beginning that, Mr. President, this is how things are at this hour. I think they could have saved that embarrassment.
I totally agree with you, Kagi. There is a lot that should have actually been done, and it is now something that they have to live with. Of course, you can also imagine when you're talking about also the public image, the government's image that was actually now put out there yesterday, and this also goes even up to international levels, and of course that is damage. So how they're also going to do the damage control is something that we're going to wait. We're going to wait and see. But I totally agree that there is still a lot. And I think one of the things that Kagi, maybe a lot of Kenyans want to, or are actually pushing for, the total dismissal of the entire bill, is the fear that there could still be some hidden issues. There could still be some hidden areas that maybe have not actually been brought out conspicuously. And therefore, if they were to allow the parliamentarians to actually just vote for this particular bill, they would actually come to be haunted or actually to suffer in the near future.
Yes. Right. And also, we can mention one more item before we move into the other area of our program today. Regarding to the teachers' employment, there is good news here for interns teachers, as the government is planning to employ around 20,000 interns on permanent basis. We know there has been a lot of push and pull in the Ministry of Education, the TSC, and also with the teachers, both from the ordinary learning fraternity and also the JSS. But now, at least 20,000 interns teachers will now get permanent jobs beginning July.
Wow.
These are good news. This is after parliamentary group meeting of the KK meeting yesterday, that you could remember that we were having a press conference yesterday, provided that this thing is going to be done next month, absorbing around 18 billion shillings for this. One thing that we should commend the Ministry of Education and also the Parliament and also the government is that we need to have our teachers who have been, I think they have been teaching as interns for the last 3 years, to be employed on a permanent basis. Because this country has money, Mangicho. It has money. And we need also to use this money correctly, right? Yeah, I could not, even without mentioning names, we could see some politicians are also dishing huge amounts of money in fundraisings, which could tell if personal contributions can be in millions, then how much does government owe? And therefore, we need to fix some of these problems. The intern teachers and also the junior secondary teachers should be absorbed in the system, without the push and pull of politics and TSC and so forth and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, so we believe it is not just a talk to impress them, but because we are in the beginning of implementing our budget, that these trainers are going to be employed permanently.
Absolutely, that is that's a great point, and we are also hoping, because there was also the story, there was also the news, Kagi, of those who had actually taken place in the protest. There was the story that they were, I don't know whether the TSC was going to fire them or he has already fired them, something that also received a lot of backlash from Kenyans. So we want to believe that maybe their plight has also been considered. But it's very, very encouraging that such a good number can actually get that employment.
Yes.
And maybe just before we introduce our guest for the show, I think one more area that has also made headlines is regarding the death of the principal magistrate for Makadara.
Yeah.
That is Monica Kivuti.
Yes.
And of course, the country, especially the Department of Judiciary, has been continuing to mourn and also expressing their views and expressing their solidarity with the family, and also coming out very strongly to hit out at those who are responsible for that particular incident, and at the same time also Kagi calling for the reinforcement and maybe even for the change and also the deliberation to see how is it that the officials of the judiciary can also be assured as far as their security is concerned, because the incident that happened was very, very unfortunate, and it actually pointed out to maybe how vulnerable or maybe how endangered some of the officials of the judiciary can be in as far as maybe undertaking their duties, undertaking their day-to-day activities is concerned. So I think even as we mourn the death and the gruesome murder of Honorable Kivuti Monica, I think this is a conversation that needs to actually be continued at very, very high levels to be able to ensure that all the state officers, especially maybe those who are in the line of duty, like judicial officers, are actually taking care of their security.
Yeah, the good thing is that with the Police Service Commission, they have picked up the matter, and they have really promised that the judicial officers need to be given enough security because they are serving public. Now, the situation, the incident would have brought and opened another avenue where people can think of attacking judges because of their rulings, and judicial officers need to be protected at all costs because of the roles they play in our country. Sometimes some of the decisions they make, they are very unpopular with the government, even with private citizens and even with individuals. And therefore, it's good also to strengthen their security when they are at work, even away from work, because of the nature of their job. And we thank the Chief Justice for his commitment to ensure that the officers under his jurisdiction are well protected.
Sure, I totally agree with you. And actually, listening to Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu talking yesterday, and she was very, very remorseful, very, very sad about what really happened, but was actually appealing to Kenyans, especially when maybe those who feel maybe they are dissatisfied or maybe they are opposed to the rulings that are being made in the judiciary corridors. They have an avenue, like for example, appealing some of those cases, but of course, again, it's also important for us also to address the issue of the mental health in this particular case. But I think that is something that is really going to be taken into consideration.
Right.
Well, I think so far so good. Those are some of the issues that have actually been shaping our headlines across this particular 1 week. But remember, as we had promised, today we are shifting gears and we want to look at World Refugee Day. World Refugee Day. Probably you are living maybe close to a refugee. Have you ever maybe gotten interested in maybe knowing about their affairs, knowing about their background? So we are really going to enlighten you in this particular program. We already have a guest that we want now to introduce. She's going to help us understand more and more about our conversation. And our guest for today is Madam Stacy Mutiso, who is an officer in charge of Nakuru office, Department of Refugee Services. Karibu sana Stacy, good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Asante sana.
Good morning too.
Yes. So you're most welcome for this discussion, and I know so many of our viewers have been waiting to see and also to hear in regards to the state of refugees. But maybe if we could even start, because I know sometimes even quite a number of people are not very sure or are not very definite in terms of even defining who a refugee is. We could start from there.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Stacy Mutiso from the Department of Refugee Services, Nakuru Field Office. A refugee is someone who has fled their country because of a well-founded fear of persecution, religion, and anything that threatens their own lives. Yeah.
And sometimes we have also those maybe who confuse these terms, a refugee, an immigrant, and you also have another term, an asylum seeker.
And also an IDP.
And also an IDP, sure.
Yeah, first of all, the difference between a refugee and an IDP, a refugee, you must have crossed the border.
Okay.
To another country.
To another country.
Yeah, that is why you cannot be a refugee in your own country. A refugee, you must have fled your country.
To another country.
And gone and sought asylum in another country. But an IDP, you are displaced in your own country.
Okay.
Maybe like right now there is war in Baragoi, you go and live maybe in Nanyuki or somewhere else. So that is an IDP. But a refugee, you find that they are like Sudanese, they have fled their own country, that is Sudan, and come to seek asylum in Kenya. An asylum seeker is someone who has come to the country to seek asylum. Like in Kenya now, that is the country of asylum. They have fled their country, they have come to this new country, so that is why they are called asylum seekers, okay. Because they are seeking asylum for their own lives, because they have fled. Like I've said, a refugee, someone who has fled their country because of fear of persecution and a threat to their own life. So they have come to seek protection in another country. Yeah.
Wow. And we will be talking about the state of refugees. You'll also be in a position to also help us even know maybe what is their state, even maybe in the county government of Nakuru. But we are talking about World Refugee Day. What is the brief background about this particular day?
Okay, the background for the World Refugee Day, It was first celebrated in 20th June 2001. That is when they were celebrating the 1951 UN Convention, which is one of the legal frameworks that guides the Department of Refugee Services in giving service to the refugees, because we are guided by 3 legal frameworks and the Refugee Act. The legal frameworks are the 1951 UN Convention, the 1967 Protocol, and the 1969 OAU. So that time they were celebrating the 50th anniversary for the 1951 UN Convention. That is when it was first celebrated, because the convention had given refugees a lot of rights, like the status of refugee, the rights of refugee, they can enjoy the rights like any other citizen and such.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know just before I bring my my colleague Paul Kagi on this, so maybe briefly in Kenya, what has been the experience of refugees as far as Kenya is concerned?
The refugees, the host community has been good to the refugees. They have accepted them, they have included them, because we see the host community living very well with the refugees. Some of them are even fostering refugees.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them are even educating them.
So where have we as a country been receiving these refugees from?
As a country, we have refugees from South Sudan, which is the largest number. We have refugees from Somalia, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, Ethiopia. Wow,
over 5 countries. So you're hosting over 5 countries.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe since when have we been hosting the refugees in Kenya?
Yeah, we have been hosting for quite a long time.
So it's been for a very long time.
Yeah, I can say over 20 years. Yeah.
Wow, over 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Of course, when you come back, my colleague Kagi will be picking up, and of course, will also help us to understand what are some of the basic rights. Just as you've said, a refugee is supposed to maybe to enjoy the same rights, maybe as a particular citizen of a particular country, or maybe there are some areas that maybe they are not supposed to have just as a citizen. You'll be telling us that and much more, but I just want to take a short break. You're still watching your favorite program, Leadership Wednesday, right here on MBCI TV. Today we are looking at the state of refugees, even as we look forward to marking the World Refugee Day. And we have a guest, that is Stacy Mutiso, who is an officer in charge of Department of Refugee Services in the county government of Nakuru. We are asking you, what do you think needs to be done to improve or to enhance the state or even the livelihoods of refugees in Kenya? Share your thoughts with us on 23814 and also on our social media platforms, MBCI TV for Facebook and MBCI TV official for YouTube. We are coming back with much more on the second round. Don't go far away.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Maombi yetu yanapoenda juu, baraka hushuka. Kingdom Seekers Evangelistic Team Nakuru wakishirikiana na Gospel Outreach Church Chaka kualika katika Mega Harvest Crusade kuanzia tarehe 20 hadi tarehe 23 Juni mwaka huu.
Expect a miracle in the name of Jesus.
Hafla hii iliyoandaliwa na Reverend Peter na Pastor Bansi Mutunga itafanyika pale Chaka Stadium Nyeri. Mgeni atakayezungumza ni mhubiri John Kamau wa Kingdom Seekers Fellowship Nakuru.
This glory of the risen Lord will reflect in your life in the name of Jesus, in a great measure, in a great measure.
Naye mgeni mwimbaji atakuwa mhubiri Anthua. kutakuwa na morning devotions kutoka thenashara mpaka saa 1:30 asubuhi. Alafu crusades kutoka saa 9:30 hadi saa 12:30. Kisha baadaye kutakuwepo na uvuvio, yaani revival, kutoka saa 1 jioni mpaka saa 2:30 jioni. Kumbuka, ni kutoka tarehe 20 mpaka tarehe 23 Juni mwaka huu, pale Chaka Stadium Nyeri. Nyote wakaribishwa, wakaribishwa.
Nipatie spelling ya neno orthopedic. Orthopedic inaanza na O. Orthopedic inaanza na O.
Orthopedic. O-T-P.
Madam.
I-D-I-C.
Rudia tena.
Orthopedic. O-P-I-T-D-I-C.
Daktari wa meno anaitwa dentist, si ndio? Na daktari wa macho ataitwa nani?
Dentist. Maidho anaitwa okay, dentist. Tunaenda kwa macho. Okay. Electrician. Electrician.
Unataka kumwambia mwisho wa gari ni hapa. Utamwambia je kwa kizungu?
The head of the car is here.
What? Yeah?
The head of the car is here.
Hiyo labda ukuja jana.
Kata pua?
Kata hewa. Kata pua ukate hewa.
Wale wali. Sema mara 3 mbio mbio.
Wale. Wali. Imenishinda.
Presenting Jen Aler. She is a strong and great woman of God, a renowned Kenyan gospel music recording artist, motivational and collaborative worship minister with a focus on true worship.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Of course, you are most welcome, and we are still on the Leadership Wednesday program, and we are very grateful that you're still keeping us company. Now, of course, we're having a very interesting discussion. Maybe this is a discussion that you've not or you've not maybe known to interact with it as often as possible, but it's very, very important. It's very vital because these are our people, these are our fellow human beings, and it is very, very important that you also understand, that you also do something, and that you also play a role in as far as their plight and their welfare is concerned. So we are talking about the state of refugees, of course, in regards also to the World Refugee Day. Of course, in the set, we are having a guest that is Stacey Mutiso, is an officer in the Department of Refugee Services in the county government of Nakuru, just helping us to shed light on the state of refugees and even maybe what we expect when we'll be marking this particular day. What are some of the issues that we are looking forward to? So we have asked you a question, and what do you think needs to be done to improve or to enhance the state and the livelihoods of refugees? Continue giving us your remarks on 23814, and of course on our social media pages. We are live on Facebook, MBCI TV, and YouTube, that is MBCI TV official. Maybe at this point, Kagi, you can shoot your point.
Yes, I think my main concern is regarding to whether, because your office is confined within Nakuru County, whether we are having various offices of such which are in charge of refugee services the whole country in the 47 counties. As you tell us if they are, my concern was, why should we have such an office, for example, in Nakuru County? I was feeling like it should be within areas where we are having the refugee camps like Kakuma, and the other one in Turkana, the other one is in, we have two, Dadaab, yeah. So I was feeling that is where you should confine our services to, because maybe those who are flipping over to other sides of the country, they are not so much pressed with situations. So why should we have refugee services within the counties, even where there are no refugees?
Okay, first of all, the Department of Refugee Services is a national institution. It's under the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, under the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services. That is where we have the National Registration Bureau, we have immigration, we have the civil registration, and we have the Department of Refugee Services. And yes, we do have offices, other offices apart from the camps, which are Dadaab and Kakuma.
Yeah.
We have our offices in General Madenge, that is in Nairobi. We have the Nakuru office, which we are situated in Kiamunyi or Livin at the Farming System Building. We have our Eldoret office, which is at the Public Works in Eldoret. We have our Mombasa office in Bombolulu. Yeah, those are the urban areas.
Oh, those are the urban areas.
Yeah, those are the urban areas. And the reason why we have the urban areas is because you don't expect refugee to just enter through the borders. Yeah. We have some coming from passing through Migori, Isebania. They find themselves in town. So the reason for having these urban areas is so that we can capture all the data for the refugees. You see, when a refugee finds himself or herself in maybe Eldoret or somewhere like Nanyuki, they don't have the nearest office they can go if you restrict them to the camp. Yeah, so that is why it was decided that we have some offices where they can cover areas. Like the Eldoret office, it covers the South Rift region. The North Rift. The Nakuru office covers the South Rift region. So you see, when a refugee is in Kericho, they can be directed to our offices because we work with people like the police, the Red Cross. They are our partners also. They direct them to the nearest offices.
And maybe on the same, for example, when they come, those who are coming from other routes, as you are saying, so they should, when they come, they should report into they should trace the offices where they are. Yeah,
they are told they can report to the police stations.
Okay.
They can go to the police station and say, I'm an asylum seeker, I've come from this country and I'm seeking asylum in Kenya. Then from there, the policemen can call our offices. We work hand in hand with them. We have our chief's offices. We also have other, like Red Cross. Most of them even go to the Red Cross because very many people know the Red Cross.
Yeah.
They go to the Red Cross and you are called, they are refugee here. You can come and address the issue.
Mangicho, maybe one more item. Yeah. The issue of monitoring. For example, you know, those who are confined in one IDP camp, it's very easy for you to be able to monitor them and also assist them in case of any problem. But those who are in urban areas, because they are not in one area, you know, they're in the estates, do you have any program to monitor their operations, their behavior, their situations? And how do you do it?
Yeah, we do have, because we have where we register them. We have our system where we register the refugees, and it's only us who have that system where we register the refugees. And when we're registering them, we register where they live. We also have the host community, which I said in the beginning, that they have done a good job in including the refugees. They are also involved in the Nyumba Kumi. The chiefs also, they know the chiefs. Some of them even go to the barazas. Yeah, so that is how we are able to monitor. We even have the chief, if anything happens, we have the chiefs calling us, telling us this and this is an issue concerning the refugee, can you come and address? Yeah, so we are able to at least follow what they do. And you see, we are encouraging the inclusion, and even the Shirika plan, which is mostly addresses the inclusion of the refugees to come to be allowed to live in town if they can be able to work. So you see, they cannot all of them work in the camps. They have like to find work in urban areas. Some of them in universities, they have to come and
go to school. So they're allowed to work?
Yes, they're allowed to work.
But are they allowed to own properties?
No, they are not allowed to own properties.
Yeah, I think that's a very important area, Kagi, because that now leads us actually to what I wanted now, Madam Stacy, to help us understand. So which are these basic rights of a refugee?
First, the basic rights and the most important right is the non-refoulement. Non-refoulement. Which means that a refugee, it's the right of a refugee not to be taken back to their country. Well, they have a right not to be taken back to their country.
If they reject.
Yes, if they come and say, I'm an asylum, I'm coming from Sudan, they have, that is the basic right, that they are not supposed to be returned back to Sudan or Rwanda or wherever they are coming from.
Even before you move, you go forward, you remember there was a time when the government was pushing to return the refugees from the Somali camp.
The ones that are in the
Dadaab,
they were saying
there was a very serious push to return them to their country. And how it died, we don't know. Maybe the UN pushed for their rights.
It could be because of that right.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. But
do they have to tell? Do they have to show some of the reasons why they are refusing or objecting to go back? Or once they just say they don't want it?
Yeah, like I've said, like when they come, they have fled their country due to well-founded fear.
Yeah.
Like persecution, war, religion, even LGBTQ, and all that. So they have to show, actually. For us, when they come, first they're asylum seekers. They are given the asylum seeker pass, and then they undergo through the refugee status determination interviews, whereby they are interviewed, like a vetting, so that we can know if they are really refugees. Yeah.
Individually. So like interviewing an individual.
Yes.
Wow. Even if they've come as a group.
Yes, they are interviewed. If it is a family, they are not interviewed. Okay, there's a part where they are interviewed as a family, and in the beginning, first they are interviewed individually, so that we can establish each person's claim, so that if it tallies with what they have come to say. And it is not even one interview, it is a process, it is a series of interviews, so there's to determine if they are really refugees. Yeah, that is when now they acquire the refugee status, after they have gone through the refugee status interview. Yeah.
Wow. So that one you call it non-refoulement.
Non-refoulement is whereby they have a right not to be taken
back
to their country.
Wow. The other rights?
The other rights are right to education, right to work, right to health, right to affordable housing, right to food, basic needs.
Let's talk about rights to affordable housing. It's very interesting, because if you look at those who are in the camps, they live in shanties, okay, or makeshift. But how does it come, the right to affordable housing? How does it come in?
Like, you see, for example, those in urban, you're not supposed to discriminate against them. Like, you're not supposed to say this is a Sudanese and we see they have a lot of money, so we are going to rent them a house that is worth 8,000 for 15,000.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
It should be the standard price.
It should be the
you should not
standard
exploit
price.
them.
Yeah, you should
on
not
on the basis of their status, their refugee status.
In short, they have a right to live in a good place.
Live in a good place.
Yeah, so that their dignity is also protected. Or you're not supposed to say these are refugees. After all, they have run from their country.
But that does not necessarily mean that the host country, in as much as they are supposed to enjoy that right, does not mean that the host country is the one that is servicing that right. Like, for example, paying for those houses.
No, if they are living in urban, then they should know how to live in urban on their own, because we have the camps, like Mr. Kagwe here said. We have the camps where they have been provided with houses, food, school, education, health. Yeah, the hospitals, they go for free and all that.
Because now, like maybe for the ones maybe in Nakuru County, and maybe most people know that maybe they interact with them, they live with them in the neighborhoods, in the estates. And people have been wondering because they don't see them going to work, and they're wondering where they're getting their money. So who pays for that money?
Okay, some of them you find, like I've said, they're allowed to work. So some of them are in jobs. They can be able to support themselves and their families. Some of them, they have relatives back in their country.
Okay,
who
support them?
Yeah, who support them. For example, you might find the father opted to remain in Sudan, and the other family members, the wife and the kids, to come to seek refuge in Kenya. So you might find the father back in Sudan has a job, so they support them. The others who also have been relocated to other countries. Yeah, and like the US, the Canada, so you find they're also supporting them. That's how you find those in town, they can be able to support themselves.
Or they can be able to support. Yeah. And in terms of, because maybe the other issue that most people would also want to find out in this particular case is how does it go when maybe you said that they can be allowed to work? Like, for example, they are refugees and they're maybe supposed, or maybe they should get an opportunity to work in Kenya. How is it possible without the facilitations of maybe some of the necessary documents they require?
Actually, they do have documents. Refugees have documents. They have refugee IDs, which operates just like the Kenyan ID. With that ID, they can be able to access KRA, open bank accounts, go to school with them, like the university students. They have their own passports, which is called the conventional travel document, which they can use to go to any other country apart from their own country. Yeah, when they go to school and they are able to get jobs, we provide them with the work permit.
Wow! So if there were job opportunities to be advertised, they are freely allowed.
Yeah, they're allowed to apply, and the Kenyans are urged to.
And they can actually be considered just the way.
But we rarely see them working. I'm wondering, why don't they work?
Maybe it's because the society has not fully come to terms with the... You see, if I'm a Kenyan, it's only if I'm a Kenyan and I'm an employer, you find there are 2 Kenyans here and 1 refugee. So a normal Kenyan, a normal person will just say, why would I employ a person from another country without first considering the people from my own country?
Very true.
Yeah, so you see, maybe the society has not really come to terms, but there are some who are working. You find them in hospitals, you find them in banks, you find them in...
Under any circumstances, can they acquire Kenyan citizenship?
No.
No.
Yeah.
And maybe even the children that they sire when they're here?
Mostly you find when a refugee is married to a Kenyan, they decide, the 2 of them decide where the kids they want to, either refugees or Kenyans.
You make a decision where the weight is.
Yeah.
Is more.
You decide as a couple whether you want your child to be a refugee
or a Kenyan.
But mainly, the original, you should be a Kenyan, because there is no way you are going to allow your kid to be a refugee where, yeah.
But if there are two refugees and they have a child, that child
is a refugee
automatically.
Yeah. We have even some of them giving birth here and they are given the Kenyan birth certificate, but they are refugees.
Oh, they're given.
Yes,
Kenyan
when they sire children here, they are given the Kenyan birth certificate.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay, that's very.
What about the situation whereby those who are living in the camps, are they allowed to move around? For example, those who are in the northern corridor, they can just move around in Kisumu, in Mombasa, freely?
Yes, they are allowed. We have the travel document which we issue them with.
Or anytime they are traveling, they usually have it?
Yeah, anytime they are traveling. Some of them you find even them coming from the camps to come to town for medical purposes. You find some of them have chronic diseases, so they need care, continued care. So you find they come from the camp to stay in town. Some of them even find the schools here better, or rather they prefer the schools in town, so they come here to study, especially the university students and the college ones. Also, like I've said, the employment, so they are allowed to move.
I thought with the identification card, the refugee ID cards, it's enough for them to move around. I thought that is enough.
Yeah, it's enough, but we have to know how and why they are traveling from the camp, especially from the camp. Those registered in camp coming to town, we have to know why, and even the camp managers back in the camp, they have to know where they are going, so as to account for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we draw narrow to the county government of Nakuru, so we are approximating around how many refugees?
In Nakuru, those registered in Nakuru, given the urban address, we have around 2,500 to 3,000. Like I've said, registered and given the Nakuru address, because we have those, since around 2017, we had the encampment policy. We register them, but give them the camp address. We don't give them the urban address. So if you take, I've not given in that statistics of 2,500 to 3,000, the ones we have given the camp address are not in that statistics.
Oh, they're not in that.
So we have more than that. Yeah.
Wow. And those ones from your data, they're coming from which countries?
Mainly it's Sudan.
Mainly Sudan.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
What about, I believe that sometimes they feel dissatisfied with the services or something else. What could be some of the major dissatisfactions that they present in your office?
Maybe the dissatisfaction is most of the institutions have not don't have the full knowledge of the refugee documents, like you have said. So you find maybe when they are arrested, maybe the officer is not sure about the document. But like I said, we work hand in hand with them. They call us, they tell us, this is a refugee, is it your docket or is it the immigration? We also work hand in hand with the immigration. Yeah, those are the challenges. They maybe the institutions, they have not fully recognized the refugee documents, like the KRA, the Safaricom.
Okay.
But they have partly. You can find they can get a Safaricom line and maybe they cannot apply for the M-Pesa. Yeah.
Which they're supposed to.
Yeah, which they're supposed to. Yeah, but with when they come to our offices, we write them a letter, and with that, they're able to get the full service. Yeah.
What about the situations whereby they feel molested, mistreated by the locals? Are there such kind of complaints?
By the locals, I've not heard that because before the whatever is passed, you like you are being charged with something. We are called before to address we are able to advise the judicial system. This is how it's supposed to be done. If it is a document and they were arrested and they are going to be charged with that, we are called and we advise the court. This is a refugee document. We have, like I said, we have the data.
Yeah.
We have checked and we are able to confirm this is a refugee document. So before we are able to intervene before they are molested.
Then that means Kenyans are very hospitable if you don't receive such kind of cases.
And that is very encouraging.
Yeah.
Actually, that one in line with maybe what we refer to as a stigmatization. Do you feel maybe from your office it's been there? Have they been affected maybe because of their status as refugees?
Of course you find that, but it's just like any other country. If you go maybe to if a mzungu comes here, you see the kids like, kuna mzungu hapa and all that. Okay. So a mzungu might say that is stigmatization. So in school you might find even the children that don't know, they are like, wewe hata ni refugee. You see such, but they don't understand what you see. The kids, they can say anything, but with the society, I've not. It's very rare for you to find they have come in terms with the refugees. Some of because even some of them, most of them are working with them. Okay. They are going to school, the universities with them. Yeah. So the stigmatization has gone down.
So it is very low.
Yeah, very low.
And you're of the opinion that as a host community, as a host country, especially in this part, the locals have been able to ensure, or even to encourage them to adapt as fast as possible and to even interact with them.
Yeah, the host community has been able. We have been doing community outreaches. Even we have been doing advocacy with the institutions like the KRA, the NHIF, the Safaricom, and all that. Right now they can access services. The host community are able to include them. You find them even working with them, like doing the art crafts. You find them, the refugee teaching the host community the art crafts because they are very good in that. You find, like I said before, some of them fostering them. Yeah, you find a kid in school, maybe they are not able to afford lunch. You will find even a teacher there volunteering to support the kid with the lunch so that the kid can stay in school. You know, the kid cannot stay in school if he or she is hungry. Yeah.
Yeah, and in line with that, actually, in terms of matter schooling and education, I was just wondering, so how are they incorporated maybe into the Kenyan education system, considering that maybe even some of them, they were quite maybe affected in terms of the duration lost, as far as the situation maybe back in their country is concerned. So what happens when they come and maybe they want to proceed with their studies?
Okay, that is with the Ministry of Education, but the schools are able to gauge. Like it's just like a Kenyan when you take your kid to another school, and they go through an interview so that they are gauged if they can go to the next class or they can remain in that class in the other school that you have transferred the kid. So the schools are able to gauge where the years, not the years, because you can find even a 13-year-old in grade 3, because that is where the kid, according to the teacher, has that understanding up to that point, maybe. If not, then they are taken to from grade 1, from the basics. You can even decide to do homeschooling, or the teacher can decide with homeschooling, and if this kid goes to grade 3, then she'll be okay to continue with the grade. Yeah, they don't consider the years or so that's why I've said you can find a 13-year-old in grade 2, and
those in primary school, are they allowed to do external examination, the KCPE, or the KPSEA or the
Yes.
or the KCSE?
They are allowed. Yes.
And they get
allowed.
certificates?
They get certificates, they pass, they go to the universities,
Wow.
they are admitted to the universities, they finish.
I think it was in the
they are
news. I don't know if it was
considered
last year or the other year. I think we had one of them from Sudanese origin that I think did very well in one of the national examinations.
Wow.
And in terms of also them understanding maybe our national languages, is it just by way of integration?
Yeah, it's just like the way they are integrated with the Kenyans. Some of them, if they talk Kiswahili, you cannot even know if they are they are actually
they can be better than the hosts.
Yes, they talk a very fluent Kiswahili, especially the young generation, like you said, the Gen Z. They talk even Sheng. Yeah, they are.
But of course, they are not supposed to take part in the protest.
No, they're not. They are not allowed. Even in election, they are not allowed.
That is not that's not their right to participate in an election.
I was wondering also the link between. Let me talk about the counties, because now that's where you come from. The link between your office in the county or any other office in our counties and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Do you have any link?
Yes, actually the UNHCR is our main partner. We partner with them in so many things. Yeah, the UNHCR is our main partner actually.
Direct or?
Direct.
Oh, direct.
Yes.
Okay. So they make a very serious follow-up on what is happening with the refugees?
Yes, very serious ones.
Do you give them maybe updates, data or something?
Yeah, we work with them hand in hand. Actually, that's why I said they are our main partners. We work with them directly. Yeah, we are because we are the only ones with the refugee data, the DRS and the UNHCR. They are the ones who oversee the repatriation back to their country. They are the ones who we work with them in everything. Let me just say that.
Let me go back kidogo, Mangicho. The issue of the internally displaced persons and the issue of refugees, is there a way sometimes you find yourself, these two groups are falling in your office?
Yes, we have found in some cases you find an IDP has gone to a certain office and they are directed to our office. That is an IDP. So when they come, you have now to direct them to the
right office.
The Department for Special Programs. I think that is where the IDP falls under.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I think at this particular point, Kagi, we can have our prominent faces.
Yes, I believe it is standby.
Yes, if our director can, before we continue with the conversation, there is that segment that we also prepare for you. It's called the Prominent Faces. And of course, we can be able to find out who is it that is going to be featured today in this particular segment. Our director, you can grant us that segment.
Welcome to the Prominent Faces. Today, we are looking at the life and times of Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah, the first prime minister between 1957 and 1960 and president between 1960 and 1966 of the Republic of Ghana, was the leader of this first sub-Saharan African nation to gain its independence. He subsequently became a leading figure in the campaign of the United States of Africa. Nkrumah was born on September 21, 1909 in Nkoruful in Gold Coast. The son of a goldsmith, attended mission school at Accra and government training college at Achimota between 1926 and 1930, where he prepared to be a teacher. In 1935, Nkrumah left for the United States, where he attended Lincoln between 1935 and 1939 and University of Pennsylvania between 1939 and 1943. By 1943, Nkrumah had earned multiple bachelor's and master's degrees in economics, sociology, education, theology, and philosophy. Then in May 1945, Nkrumah departed for London, England, where he studied as the PhD student at London School of Economics. While in London, Nkrumah held many positions in the anti-colonialist and black nationalist organization. In 1945, Nkrumah co-founded the Pan-African Congress, which became an influential voice against colonialism in Africa. In 1947, Nkrumah returned to the Gold Coast and became General Secretary of the newly founded United Gold Coast Convention.
In order to ensure that they are unable to strive against each other. And Mr. Chairman, from this conference, let us give them a positive maxim. If you want peace, stop preparing for war. Why peace? Peace, and yet there is no peace. Only last night, the Soviet Union exploded a nuclear device. This is a shock to me, as it must have been to you all. But it is a shock which possibly brings home to us the supreme danger facing mankind, the imperative necessity for peace, and the urgent need to sign a treaty for complete and general disarmament.
However, in 19...
It is in an African economic community in which we can all pool our production and our trade to a common advantage. It is not difficult to imagine that the new colonialists would describe this as a pooling of poverty. It is, however, too simple a distortion of fact. Africa is rich and not poor. As the great wealth that has been taken out of our continent over 5 centuries of spoliation and extortion very well proves. Africa has immense actual and potential wealth: gold, diamond, copper, manganese, bauxite, iron ore, uranium, asbestos, chrome, cobalt, a host of other minerals. Our essential agricultural produce have all been drained away by colonialist imperialism. Africa is far from being poor. It is Africans who are poor, not Africa. And they are poor because of the uncounted profit that has been made out of the exploitation of their labor and their lands.
3 years later, he formed a new government, the Republic of Ghana. A devoted Pan-Africanist, Nkrumah forged alliance with both Guinea and Mali and sought to create a League of African States with its own government. To help achieve this goal, in 1963, he and other African leaders formed the Organization of African Unity, OAU. Choosing to remain neutral in political affairs outside of the African continent, Nkrumah initially gained tentative support from both the United States and the Soviet Union, receiving economic and technical aid from both countries. Vigorously suppressing political dissidents, Nkrumah almost immediately was branded a dictator by his political opponents. Then, in 1961, a firestorm of protest erupted after he appointed himself Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and obsolete head of the CPP. Nkrumah subsequently outlawed all the political parties. In 1966, Nkrumah's government was overthrown by the coup d'etat, while he was on a trip to Beijing, China. Taking refuge in Guinea, Nkrumah spent the rest of his life in exile. He died in Bucharest, Romania on April 27, 1972. That is the end of Prominent Faces, checking the life and times of Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana.
Absolutely magnificent there, Kagi. Quite a very, very interesting personality, very memorable, Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think you've also been able to capture in that short documentary there is about him being a Pan-Africanist. I think that is something that stood out very well, very clearly, Kagi,
yes,
especially maybe for those leaders of those years, looking not necessarily within their countries, but they really had that very, very, very great desire to see an Africa that is united, an Africa that speaks the same language, that has one particular voice in terms of addressing the issues that revolve around this particular continent. And I think these are some of the leaders that we actually want to see, Kagi.
Yes, and of course, if you could have followed what we did last week, and maybe what will be coming some subsequent features of Prominent Faces, is that number one, we could thank all these Pan-African leaders for their effort to fight for Africa to gain independence. Ghana fought neighboring countries to have independence. South Africa did the same, Kenya did the same, Tanzania. But one major concern that I have with this Pan-Africanist Mangicho is that they were well informed, well educated, and they had traversed the whole world, and they knew about many things. Their minds were really very opened.
Very true. They were focused.
Yes.
They really knew what they wanted for their individual countries, and even maybe for Africa as a continent.
Yes.
They were very sure, and they would even meet, you're talking about Kwame Nkrumah, the Mwalimu Julius Kabarage Nyerere, the Jomo Kenyattas of that particular time, and you could actually read out, you could actually find out from them. It was very visible, it was very clear, the kind of mandate that they had and the kind of objectives and goal they had for the continent.
Yes, and I only have one case against them, that despite their knowledge, their experience and everything, they did not capitalize on that to be able to push Africa on development edge fast. When they came back after going overseas, getting education, blah, 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 they came and localized themselves, and what we can say today, they came wakaanza kucheza chini. Like they were not educated, they didn't know anything. You know, we expected them to use that knowledge, that experience, that exposure to push those countries in Africa faster than anybody else. I don't you worry, even today some of our leaders are behaving the same.
Wow.
They are very knowledgeable and experienced, lakini bado wanacheza chini.
Absolutely. That is something to meditate about and also to digest about. That is our Prominent Faces segment. Coming back to our conversation on the World Refugee Day, before you tell us when the World Refugee Day is and what our viewers should expect from this particular day, I was just wondering, so are there those refugees that maybe you've been able to take back to their countries?
Yes.
Under what circumstances? Yes.
Voluntary repatriation.
Okay.
There are those when there is peace back in their country, they'll come and say, right now I see there's peace in your country. I'd like to go back and start afresh in my own country.
Wow.
So now the UNHCR comes in. Like I said, we work, they are our major partners. We work
so is it a complex exercise?
Yes, because they have our government, the asylum country. They have to communicate with the country back where they fled from, and they have now to organize that this number of people are coming. They have asked for voluntary repatriation. They'd like to come back to the country. Yes, and then it's organized that when they go back there, they don't face challenges in starting over a new leaf. They are supported in that. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So it is something that is done in collaboration. It's a multi-sectoral kind of approach.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So tell us about now this particular day and maybe what to expect.
Yeah, for this day we have the Refugee World Day. Like I said, it's for the refugees.
Yes.
We are here to celebrate them for their courage and resilience. You see, it's not easy when you go to another country and you cannot be able to go back to your country. It takes a lot of courage to even get used to that country. So this day is dedicated to them, to celebrate them, to celebrate even the host community for including them, for staying with them, and even the country for hosting, but majorly it's for the refugees. The theme for this year is our home. When you define a home, is you're told a home can be food, can be a person,
Yes.
it can be your own home. So yeah, we are celebrating. We are celebrating them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
because this is their home.
And are you partnering with some maybe other organizations?
Yeah, we are partnering with other organizations. We have Hokan, which we partner majorly here in Nakuru. Hosanna Children. Yeah, it's called Hokan.
Hokan, okay.
Yeah, it provides free counseling for the refugees. Not only for refugees but also Kenyans, and deals with matters concerning SGBV. At one time they have assisted us in hosting one of, most of the time it has assisted us in helping us to host kids, refugee kids, who before we find a solution, because you see a kid is a vulnerable person. A minor is a very vulnerable person, so you have to be very careful with the next step. We have also partnered with Love and Hope. We have partnered with Lajka. We have partnered with so many organizations here in Nakuru.
Wow.
Yeah, we have also partnered with other organizations in Nairobi, like the Kituo cha Sheria. We have RCK. Yeah, we have HIAS.
Okay. Oh, that's quite a number of them. Very good, very good. Just before we come to the close, we also have a look at our next segment, and that is Know Your Constituency. Know Your Constituency. I think we can have that segment so that at least you can also have an opportunity to interact with our constituencies in the county. And today, Kagi, I'm taking you all the way to Vihiga County. And in Vihiga County, Kagi, we have a constituency here known as Sabatia. That's called it Sabatia constituency. So you are saying Sabatia constituency is an electoral constituency in Western Kenya, one of the 5 constituencies in Vihiga County. And Sabatia constituency was first established for the 1988 general elections. The current member of parliament for Sabatia constituency is Hon Lawyer Clement Lugova. Lawyer Clement Lugova, that is the current MP for Sabatia constituency. Of course, we have previous members of parliament for this constituency, and we'll begin with the 1988. We had Moses Mudamba Mudavadi. That was way back in 1988. Now, coming in 1989, there was a by-election that was done, and guess who clinched that particular seat is the son to Moses Mudavadi. Now, that is Musalia Mudavadi, of course, as a famous name in the country. He clinched the seat once again in 1992. Musalia Mudavadi, he was in his early 20s. 1997, again, he clinched the seat. Still Musalia Mudavadi, but he was defeated by a little known Moses Akaranga. You remember, Kagi, the famous expression of Kwani Akaranga Toshi? That was way back in 2002 when we had the NAC wind, the NAC wind. Of course, Mudavadi had decided to remain with KANU. So that was way back in 2002. Then Mudavadi Musalia, he retraced his steps in 2007 and came back now under the ODM wave. He clinched that seat in 2007. Then again in 2013, the person who won this seat is known as Alfred Agoi Masaida. Retained the seat again in the 2017 general election, Alfred Agoi Masaida. But in 2022, we now have lawyer Clement Lugova. And actually, he clinched this particular seat on UDA, considering that Western is more of either Amani or ODM. Quite interesting. The few words that we have there is Busali, we have Chavakali, we have Izava, we have Yaduywa, we have North Maragoli, we have Sabatia West, and we have Wodanga. Those are the words that we have in Sabatia constituency. And of course, talking about the economic activity, you'll find some tea farming there, you'll find some quarry taking place, and you'll also find some dairy farming taking place in Sabatia constituency and the entire or the larger Vihiga County.
All right.
That is Sabatia for you, Kagi.
And if you could see the data from what you have received there,
yes.
The Moses and the Mudavadi's family has really dominated the politics of Sabatia.
Yes.
I think close to 30 years. Because if you could look at the Moses Mudavadi, the father of the prime cabinet secretary, even before 1988, he was there and was a very popular minister in Moi's government because before his demise. So Mudavadi's family has really dominated the politics of Sabatia.
Yeah, that is very, very true. It is one of those very notable names. They are up to maybe the recent past, maybe when we are now maybe seeing the shifting of how maybe people are actually voting, and maybe even voting maybe against maybe what maybe most people would actually expect them. So that is Know Your Constituency. So Madam Stacy, we appreciate a lot. Maybe you have a word for our viewer, for a Kenyan, for a local, or even maybe for a refugee. You can have a minute.
Yeah, for our host community, I'd like to thank you so much for including the refugees, and we urge you to continue including them. Refugees are real people, and appreciate them, include them in everything that you do. For our refugees, we appreciate you for the courage that you have had, and we as a host community, we are here to support you in everything you do. And for our viewers, we thank you, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Most welcome, and of course also we commend you even for the good work that you're doing to ensure that the state of refugees is given the priority that it actually deserves. So we'll bring it to a close with the leadership quote for today, Kagi. Our leadership quote for today, if our director can have us look at it on our screen. This is what we are saying today. Leadership is solving problems. The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you've stopped leading them. They have either lost confidence that you can help or concluded you do not care. Either case is a failure of leadership, one person from another. And this is from Colin Powell. He was once the Secretary of State in the United States of America.
I love it, that leadership is solving problems.
Yes.
That is the key word here. Right?
Yes. And when people bring problems to you, don't dismiss them.
True.
That is why you're there.
Open doors for them.
Open doors for them. That is why we bring it to a close for today. Thank you so much for having time to be with us. Thank you for interacting. Thank you for your messages and also for following us. We'll do it again next week, the same place, the same time. Until then, enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Mangicho Mola.
Paul Kag is my name. I want to thank you for taking time to follow us. On Friday, I'll be here, God willing, for Men Matters Friday. Have a blessed Wednesday.